Now, just to define the word plasticity, plasticity just means ability to change and adapt to circumstances and injuries. So the brain has a lot of built-in reserve, if you will. There are a variety of different ways that it's able to adapt. Okay, one way is that certain areas can expound and get bigger in relationship to activity. We know that if you have somebody who does a lot of tactile work, their area for somatosensory gets bigger. So that's one way, kind of getting bigger. Second way is the pathways can adapt. So if you have a hemorrhage that disconnects areas, the brain will find ways to get around that area. And the third is we now know that new cells are potentially available that can add and help an area recover.
I think that plasticity is an intrinsic property of the brain. It's just the way the brain is. Exposed to challenges, be it an injury or be it a demand of learning something new, the brain changes. And what comes out of it may be good for the individual or may be bad for the individual. Plasticity is as much the reason why we have symptoms of an illness as well as why we can overcome the symptoms of an illness. And so I think of the challenge that is posed by this very dynamic nervous system and try to figure out ways to guide those changes. How can we suppress certain changes, enhance others, so at the end of the day, what comes out for the individual patient or for the individual might be the most adaptive.
That what we know about the brain is radically different than what we were classically taught in school or beforehand or historically. First of all, we always believed that the brain was immutable, that you were hardwired and what you had is basically what you had for life. If anything, you were going to lose brain cells over time, not change them. The second issue is that as we decided, or learn more and more that the brain does change or can change, we felt that there was only a certain period of time where that happened, what we know as critical periods, for example. So the idea was, yes, the brain does change, but it's only in a very, very finite window of opportunity, if you will. Now we're learning more and more from a combination of animal studies and clinical studies and also great advances in technology as well, that the brain does change all the time and throughout life.
And so I think this insights about plasticity provides a real change in the way we can approach rehabilitation and restoration of vision. But at the same time, it offers a phenomenal opportunity because it means that if we're able to guide those changes de novo, we will be able to guide them so that the net result is the best for the patient.
We know with experience and with stimulation, new pathways develop. Probably the V2 and V3 areas can be expanded to improve visual function. And then you learn with certain visual stimuli what you're seeing. Well, the teaching has been in the past that nothing works. So some doctors tell the patient nothing can be done. The other thing people have used is prisms to try to focus vision in the good field. That's one thing. The other thing people have done is try to direct attention to the field by working with their eye movements. So to try to place the vision in the good field rather than the bad field. Now that doesn't improve the input vision in the back, but it could help a little bit the patient deal better with the visual loss.
Field loss, for example, after in cases of hemianopia or brain damage, for example, where we see improvements in visual function. All of these things that we had this idea where we classically told patients and we said, sorry, what you have is what you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life is going to change. And again, it's an exciting time where we have to bring all these elements together to try to make this happen and understand this on a more global perspective. Not just from a level of, say, visual acuity or this is the function that you have, but what is possible down the road with intensive neuroscience and intensive rehabilitation.
Oh, yes. No, I think there are some very good people who are looking at the results of NovaVision and VRT. There's very good evidence, I think, that's beginning to accrue that you're expanding parts of the visual cortex which are assessing that part of your vision. So I think that it can make improvement. Now, does it take away the whole hemianopia? No. but it can certainly improve function enough that you can work better. You may be able to read more, you may be able to see more of the environment. I'm convinced that it can be very helpful.